How you doing? It's me, your handsome friend Waddles. Have you found yourself looking to take on ominous trial after ominous trial? Are you dreaming of farming ominous bottle after ominous bottle? Or do you just want to build a brand new farm for 1.21? Well, today I got you. Request after request, I finally got around to doing it. An outpost farm for the 1.21 update. Set this buddy up in your world AFK for a little bit of time, and in no time, you'll have ominous bottle after bottle for raids or trials. If you got any questions, throw them down below. If the design helps you out, tap that like button. And 3, 2, 1, let's go. Alright, so aside from an outpost, the materials that you're going to need to gather to build this up is kind of all over the place. At the top of the chest, very top, in exact amounts, you'll need these things. The building blocks could be any kind of building block in the world. And great news, unlike the iron farm we did last week, today we won't have any open lava sources, so they could be burnable ones. Now, these materials are per level of this farm. I'm going to show you how to build 5 floors of this farm, so you're going to need to multiply those top amounts by 5 if you want to build the exact one that I'm building. Basically, the more floors, the better, but more on that later. You're also going to want to have 1 campfire, a hopper, and a chest. Optionally, an iron golem as well. We're going to need to block a lot of spawns around this farm as well. By far, not even close, the easiest way to do that is going to be have a shovel, make a lot of path blocks, but you could use non-spawnable blocks like glass, leaves, or maybe even copper grates as well. Also, just in general, have some extra non-spawnable blocks on hand, extra building blocks, and maybe some extra slabs as well. Location. For this farm, it's more important than ever before that we get the location, the spot exactly just right. If you want to set up this outpost farm for ominous bottles, you are 100% going to need to find an outpost inside of your world. It will only work at this structure. Now, good news, the details don't matter. Just about any outpost that you could find will do. If you can manage to find an outpost that's close to water, something like this, your life actually might get a little bit easier. And if you get confused at any point in today's tutorial, good news, I've got you. Channel members, there's a world download out right now for this exact world. Tap join for a little bit more info. This structure is sort of just like a witch hut in the sense that it has a unique spawning box. Inside of that unique spawning box, only pillagers will ever spawn. Always. On a Minecraft Java that this farm is designed for, that spawning box is going to go 36 blocks out from that block right there. The height of our spawning box is 54 blocks, with the middle of that 54 being that block right there. Understanding how the spawning box works for this farm is crucial to making this farm and actually maximizing it later on. Now, I don't want to lie to you, building this thing in survival is going to be a little bit tricky. The biggest tip that I have to get started, find your outpost, move into the outpost, and turn over, face the door, and block that door in for now. We'll pull that out a little bit later on, but it's no big deal. After that, go floor by floor and clear out any pillagers that might be inside of this thing. For the rest of today's build, as long as we can stay inside of or right on top of the outpost, well, with the outside blocked out, it should be a lot easier. After you found your outpost, moved into it, secure it, the very first thing you need to do on the ground floor, place a block on the ground that you will not accidentally break. Absolutely, place this block down at dead center bottom floor. This is going to help us block spawns later. With that block placed down on the bottom floor, move back up to the top of the outpost and begin to dismantle it. The first things first, this whole roof section, it's going to have to go. Great news, you're low on blocks. You just repurpose the blocks from the outpost. And by the end of the build today, we're going to tear down the entire structure, so you're going to get quite a few blocks. With the top of our outpost taken apart, finally, we can begin our build today. Kick everything off by placing a block down. I'm placing mine dead center, but technically the specific block doesn't matter. The spawning box is, again, massive. This first block is 1. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On our 8th block, which is going to end up hanging off of one of the sides, we'll place a staircase facing forward. 8 blocks long, 9 blocks wide. And to make this thing 9 blocks wide, go 4 blocks out on either side and place more building blocks. After that, go ahead and fill everything in, and all the way along the front of your platform that you're building, staircases facing forward. The building blocks that I'm using for today's video are specially picked for 1.21, but really seriously, it doesn't matter. As long as you place any normal building block that mobs can spawn on, so like not glass at this part, you're gonna be good to go. So this will be one of our spawning platforms for our pillager farm. Along the backside, the side opposite the staircases, trap doors, 9 of them placed down. After you have your trap doors placed on the block behind the trap doors, we're going to place even more solid building blocks, 9 of them. Next up, on either side of the platform, we need more solid building blocks diagonally up and off of the side. Eventually, you see we'll have water in here, and we don't want it spilling off the side. With our platform looking something like that right now, temp block right there, permanent block right there, remove the temporary block, and then fill this line in, going almost all the way to the back. Then do the same exact thing on the other side, except on one side, and the side doesn't really matter, make it 1 block shorter. And on the side that isn't the short side, so let's say over here, we'll make this 1 block longer. Next up, and I hate to say this is the most annoying part of the farm, but on the short side, we're going to go ahead and place a tripwire hook on every single block. That should be 7 blocks. On the other side, lining up with this back one right here, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. 7 tripwire hooks, that leaves 2 blocks extended. Now, it's time for string. String is so annoying to place, but we need to put string everywhere in here, connecting one hook into the other hook. Once the hooks are connected, they're going to kind of like drop down and forward like that, so you know it's done. String is so thin and like impossible to see, so maybe use a texture pack to see it different, or just go like string by string, kind of in a straight line like I'm doing right here. And the most important thing here is that every single hook is fully connected. If your hooks don't end up connected, you're going to have a problem in your farm, kind of like this one right here. I almost missed it. A little bit of annoying, but easy work later, and we end up with a floor that looks like this. Tripwire hooks everywhere. You could double check it by moving around, checking out all the hooks, making sure they go up and down. Alright, next up, prepare yourself. It's time for some mind-blowing redstone here. We're going to go ahead and on the long side here, place redstone dust going from the front all the way down to the back. After that, we'll spin around to the back and place redstone dust on the blocks behind the trapdoors. The very final thing that we need here to get the redstone good and ready to go is place a redstone torch on this block right here, and just like that, all of the trapdoors have opened up. Now let's role play for a minute. Let's say I was a pillager, I move into here. I'm going to open up all of the trapdoors, and that's pretty much it for the concept of how the farm works. Grab a water bucket, fill it in water in the back area, open the trapdoors again, and water will now flow all the way to the front, pushing everything theoretically off of the platform. But before we move on to another platform, very final thing is blocking spawns. This block over here is a spawnable block, place a slab on it. This block is a spawnable block, place a slab on it. And then these blocks right here, all spawnable blocks as well, place slabs on top of those. Just like that, voila, tiny bit of building later, and you've got spawning platform number 1 done. Next up, real quick, let's take a look at the hitbox of the pillager. As we can see right here, perfectly lined up with a block actually, this thing is 2 blocks tall. That means even though this guy has a banner for it to spawn, all we need is 1 open block with 2 blocks of air above it for it to spawn. That'll mean for the next spawning platform, at minimum, we need to go 2 blocks down below it. That third one is going to be the actual platform. What I did for my model of this farm is space each platform out by 3 blocks because, I mean, we basically have infinite spawning space here. So anyways, this top platform, we're going to go ahead and build it 3 blocks down. On that 4th one, I'm going to go ahead and place the spawning platform. For your next platform and every one after, make sure you line it up perfectly with the ones above it. Now, with each additional layer, we're going to have quite a bit more outposts to come in here and remove, so go ahead and do that whenever you want. Now, here's the fun part, because once you've cleared out the outposts and begun setting up the next platform, I mean, if you've built the first platform, you kind of have it in the books. All that you need to do for each additional platform is, well, do exactly what you just did. So here we've got a platform that is 8 blocks long, 9 blocks wide. Along the same backside of the platform, we're going to place trapdoors. Behind those trapdoors, I'm going to place even more solid building blocks. Off to the side of both sides of the platform, more solid blocks. Diagonally up and above those solid blocks, wait for it, even more solid blocks. And on one side, I like to keep everything consistent. You go ahead and go a little bit longer. On the other side, meanwhile, you go ahead and go 1 block shorter. Tripwire hooks, am I right? And this one is a small thing, but kind of important to note. Make sure that when you're placing your hooks down, you don't have the hook sitting above where the water trapdoors are. That could mess things up. A whole ton of hooks later that all drop down perfectly on the long side, redstone dust going from the front to the back. Behind the trapdoors, redstone dust going side to side. Then a redstone torch, place it down, all the trapdoors open. One more time for old time's sake, go ahead and fill the water in behind all of these trapdoors. Then you go ahead and test it if you want. Water should flow from the back all the way to the front. So just like that, that is 2 floors down. Going down below this thing, I'm going to keep my spacing consistent, so I'll go ahead and space the platform out by 3 blocks. That's going to be the 3rd platform. Moving down even farther, do it 1 more time. We're going to have our 4th platform. After that, I end up smashing down into the land, and I mean, I could clear out blocks, but that's a little bit annoying. So for my 5th platform today, going back up to the top here, that's going to be 1, string is 2, that's 3. I'm going to put my final platform floating in the air above this platform. Making sure double checking that everything is lined up perfectly. At this point, I am speeding through this design. I mean, absolutely speeding. Believe it or not, I didn't speed up this footage at all. This is me real time. So, with this farm right here, it's sort of like the more platforms, the merrier. Again, that massive box around the outpost in which only pillagers can spawn, technically, you could really you could go ham and make a bunch of different spawning platforms, do different collection areas, and really optimize this thing like insane. For me, though, I'm kind of a simple man. I play single player, so 5 layers of this farm. I mean, that's going to be more than enough ominous bottles, especially if I AFK at this thing for, say, like a couple Minecraft days. I'll explain a little bit later on how you could really go overkill with this farm and set up a bunch of farms inside of it, but really if you wanted to do like the simple overkill, well then all you really need to do is do like say 6 platforms stacked, 7 platforms, maybe 8. Remember, the vertical dimension of your pillager only spawning box around the outpost is 54 blocks. That's like what, 27 blocks above and below that middle block on the top floor, even with the chest. So you've got quite a bit of room, like up and down, to expand this farm if you want to. One other little pro tip that I could give you for building this farm is when you're building your lowest floor, depending on how you space things, no matter what, you're going to be pretty close to the ground, which might be annoying to deal with the pillagers. So alternatively, instead of going low, you could stack 2 platforms above that first initial top one that you built. Another big thing, absolutely don't forget to do it, is place those slabs down and block those spawns on each floor. Otherwise, you're going to have random spawns. They'll probably eventually wander down, but it'll be annoying. So anyways, 5 floors later, we have a monstrous tower that looks something like that. It's pretty cool with the copper, right? Now next up, and this is where the build might get a little bit more annoying to build, but down all the way at the bottom of this farm, we have staircases that are somewhere near the ground. If they're up high, you might need to build down a little bit more. If they're down low, then you're good to go. What we're going to want to do here is place more solid building blocks, 1 block below, 2 blocks below the staircases like that, at least for me. If you skip the lowest platform and put it up on top instead, you can still go 2 blocks below, but you're going to end up with something floating, so you're going to need to do like blocks down below too. So we got 2 blocks down below right there. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing on that side and the same thing on the front side. Continue that all the way around the front until you have something that looks like this, a trench 2 blocks deeper than the staircases right there. On one side, pick a side, doesn't matter, and the corner, place a water bucket and let it flow. It should flow all the way except for 1 block. Optionally, on that final block where the water is, go ahead and dig it out and place a staircase facing forward. Now right here, we're going to go ahead and dig 1 block down, 2 block down, 3 blocks down like that, and then a 4th one. On that 4th one, go ahead and place a hopper going forward into a chest. Right on top of the hopper directly, place a campfire. Then after that, however you want to do it, set up a staircase so you can get up and down to this chest. The chest right here is going to be your collection chest where everything will be put. Build the chest in this area as well so pillagers can't get out. Now, on the front of this thing, from this bottom water trench all the way up to the top, using a non-spawnable blocks, or alternatively on the top, put slabs so nothing spawns up there, we need to build this front thing in. The height, where you need to stop your containment wall, is going to be even with the top slab. So a little bit of time later, and we now have a farm that looks something like this. We've got that full front falling area encased in so the pillagers don't get out of the farm. Now, I tried to optimize the removal system for this farm, make it nice and easy to afford a campfire. Alternatively, you could do a minecart crusher trap if you're familiar with those, or if you want to speed up the removal of your pillagers automatically, you could add an iron golem to the farm. To add an iron golem to your farm, start by creating a 2x2 area off to the side of the chest, off to the side of the farm, kind of like I did right there. Then we're going to go ahead and remove this solid block and place a slab. We'll remove this one right there and place a slab as well. Then I'm going to place some permanent blocks that will stay here forever all the way around where this iron golem is going to live. When I do this, I'm also going to need to remember that mobs could theoretically spawn down here, so I'm going to place non-spawnable blocks up on top of this thing. Absolutely leave this gap open like this with half slabs. Get an iron golem inside of this 2x2 block area, so spawn it above, drop it in, push it in, whatever, and then finally above the iron golem's head up here with non-spawnable blocks, block them in like that so nothing can get to it. If you want to make sure your iron golem is super safe long term, go ahead and place a couple more blocks right there and like almost fully fill them in, at least from the outside. With our iron golem fully trapped in right here, only being able to really see the diagonal, it shouldn't ever take damage. Little buddy will be able to see the pillagers, take them out clean through the diagonal block a little bit faster than the campfire. Totally optional. Alright now, so last things last, that original block that you placed on the first floor dead center. We now need to spawn proof all the way around the outside of our farm so spawns get concentrated to the inside. From this block right here, we need to go 36 blocks out in every single direction. The easiest way to do this whole 36 block calculation thing, other than getting the specific center coordinate and adding and subtracting 36 blocks from the X and Z coordinate, would be use a shovel and count 36 blocks out. Turn everything into path blocks. Well, that is path blocks or other non-spawnable blocks, so maybe half slabs, maybe copper grates, maybe glass, maybe leaves, anything like that. No matter what you do, everything needs to be turned into non-spawnable blocks. That's going to mean, unfortunately, if you're working with an outpost like me, I mean, it's going to be easier because I don't have to go as far that way, but all of this sand is going to have to need to switch it up. Also, at this point in the build today, if you still have, like, the back of your outpost or whatever, you can go ahead and tear that down as well. There's probably a lot of spawnable blocks there. If you happen to have nearby caves next to your outpost, you should be able to move into those caves and place a whole lot of torches down. Like we're talking, get that light level above 8 on every single block, and that should be good. Also, if you've got little boxes like this, pull those out right now too. And 100%, don't forget about the former floor of your Pillager Outpost. And so, a whole lot of work later, that's going to be the longest step. I finally have an area that is fully, or just about fully, spawn-proofed. Once you have path blocks all over this area, pillagers will no longer be spawning in the field outside. It's wonderful. But if we take a look at our farm, it's not really exactly running that much right now, just a little bit. In order to actually get this farm to run at its full capacity, you've got two options. Option number one, the hard time-consuming part. Go under the ground and light up all of the other caves and dark spaces where hostile mobs could spawn. That's going to take you forever. Option number two, go ahead and go back over to where your chest is and get the coordinates of that block, or approximately that block. We only really care about the Y coordinate, which for me is 67. And by the way, don't forget to spawn-proof your staircase area too. Anyways, knowing that the lowest point the pillagers will ever reach is 67, we can go about 100 blocks up in the air above 67 and set up an AFK platform. You're going to want this AFK platform to be approximately centered above where your outpost was. And because of how mob spawning in Minecraft works, once you get real high up above your farm, pillagers should begin spawning like crazy. Now, unfortunately, the normal plain old pillagers are not going to give you the ominous bottles. Instead, we're looking for the banner heads. A banner head has a 6% chance to spawn every single time a pillager spawns. So the more pillager spawns we get, the better. And that's where we get to optimizing this farm. Oh boy, if you want to go overkill with your ominous bottle production, well, we've got this gigantic area where you could build more platforms and probably a little bit more vertical space where I could stack more platforms as well. Technically, what you could do is anywhere within this 36 by 36 block area, build more of this setup. So I could say, take this exact 5 platform tall tower and maybe build another module of it over here, over there, over there, over there, really anywhere within 36 blocks, and it will work. Now, that all starts to get to be quite a bit of work, but I mean, if you're trying to go overkill here and get a lot of ominous bottles, well, maybe that's the move, because theoretically, the more space to spawn, the more that will spawn. But anyways, your pillager farm for Minecraft 1.21, that is just about how it's done. Spend a little bit of time nearby up in the air above this farm and let it run, and you'll start to stock up ominous bottles in no time. If you've got any questions about the design of the tutorial in general, throw them down below. For a world download of this farm, get up close and personal, become a channel member today. Tap join for more, tap like, subscribe. Check out the tutorial playlist, it'll be on the end card. It's been me, Waddles. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.